President Donald Trump embarked on a high-stakes trip to the Middle East, making stops in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. The trip, laden with both opportunity and controversy, aimed to advance several key objectives for the Trump administration. From securing lucrative economic deals to navigating the complexities of regional conflicts, the trip served as a crucial test for Trump's foreign policy agenda. The Middle East, a region perpetually at the crossroads of global politics and economics, presented a unique set of challenges and opportunities for the Trump administration. The trip aimed to leverage American influence in the region to further U.S. interests, while also addressing long-standing conflicts and fostering stability. Trump's visit was met with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension, as world leaders and analysts alike waited to see how the unpredictable president would navigate the delicate diplomatic landscape. The trip was closely watched not just for its immediate outcomes, but also for its potential long-term implications on the region and the world. One of the primary objectives of President Trump's Middle East trip was to address the ongoing conflicts plaguing the region. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the civil war in Syria, and the humanitarian crisis in Yemen were among the top issues on the agenda. Trump's approach, characterized by a mix of diplomacy and a desire for swift resolutions, yielded a mixed bag of results. In Gaza, the Trump administration celebrated the release of American hostage Eden Alexander as a significant breakthrough. Trump hailed the move as a positive step towards potential peace negotiations between Israel and Hamas. However, the underlying issues fueling the conflict, including the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza, remained largely unaddressed. Meanwhile, in Syria, the Trump administration made a dramatic policy shift by announcing plans to lift sanctions on the war-torn country. This decision, a departure from previous U.S. policy, signaled a tacit acceptance of the new government led by President Ahmed al-Sharaa, who came to power after the HTS offensive ousted Bashar al-Assad. The Yemen conflict also saw a significant development during Trump's trip, as the U.S. ended its military campaign against the Houthis, following their agreement to halt attacks in the Red Sea. This move, while welcomed by some, raised concerns among Republican lawmakers about the role of Israel in the negotiations. Beyond the realm of political and security concerns, President Trump's Middle East trip was also heavily focused on securing economic benefits for the United States. The Trump administration, eager to bolster American businesses and create jobs, saw the oil-rich Gulf states as lucrative partners for trade and investment. Trump's economic diplomacy centered on securing deals in various sectors, including energy, defense, and technology. The administration made a concerted effort to promote American companies and position them for lucrative contracts in the region. One of the key areas of focus was the technology sector, with the Trump administration particularly interested in fostering partnerships in artificial intelligence and semiconductors. The administration saw these sectors as crucial for maintaining America's technological edge and economic competitiveness. The push for economic deals, however, was not without its critics. Some observers questioned the long-term viability of these agreements and raised concerns about the potential for conflicts of interest, given the Trump family's own business dealings in the region. President Trump's trip to the Middle East was overshadowed by persistent ethical concerns surrounding the Trump Organization's business dealings in the region. Despite promising to separate himself from his business empire during his presidency, Trump faced accusations of using his political position for personal financial gain. The Trump Organization, under the leadership of Donald Trump Jr., had been actively expanding its footprint in the Middle East. New ventures, including hotels, a golf resort, and a tower, were announced in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, and Oman. These projects, often partnered with companies linked to foreign governments, raised red flags about potential conflicts of interest. One particular point of contention was the Trump Organization's partnership with Dar Global, a company with close ties to the Saudi government. Critics argued that these ventures created a clear conflict of interest, as President Trump's decisions on foreign policy could directly impact his family's financial interests. These ethical concerns, coupled with Trump's refusal to fully divest from his business holdings, cast a long shadow over the trip, raising questions about whether the president was prioritizing America's interest or those of his own family. Section 5, a gift of steel, the Qatari jet controversy. Among the many controversies that erupted during President Trump's Middle East trip, perhaps none was as perplexing as the acceptance of a luxury Boeing 747 from the government of Qatar. The jet, reportedly intended for Trump's Presidential Library Foundation, became a lightning rod for criticism and accusations of impropriety. While Qatar maintained that the transfer of the aircraft was still under consideration by both governments, the optics of the gift raised eyebrows across the political spectrum. The sheer extravagance of the gesture, coupled with Trump's history of self-dealing, fueled suspicions about potential quid pro quos and undue influence. Adding fuel to the fire was the estimated $1 billion price tag for refitting the jet to presidential standards. Critics questioned the necessity of such an extravagant expense, particularly for a Presidential Library Foundation that had yet to be formally established. The controversy over the Qatari jet further eroded public trust in President Trump and fueled accusations that he was more interested in personal enrichment than in serving the American people. The incident highlighted the ethical tightrope that Trump walked, as his personal and political lives continued to be intertwined. Section 6. Republican unease, Israel's role in regional negotiations. While President Trump's Middle East trip was met with a mix of praise and criticism, one particular aspect of the trip sparked unease among Republican lawmakers: the perceived outsized role of Israel in negotiations concerning Yemen and Iran. Republican lawmakers, traditionally staunch allies of Israel, expressed concern that the Jewish state's involvement in these negotiations could complicate U.S. efforts in the region. Some argued that Israel's interests did not always align with those of the United States, particularly when it came to Iran. The Trump administration's decision to end its military campaign in Yemen following a Houthi agreement to halt Red Sea attacks was seen by some as a concession influenced by Israeli pressure. Israel, which viewed the Houthis as a proxy for Iran, had been advocating for a tougher stance against the group. Similarly, Republican lawmakers expressed reservations about Israel's involvement in the ongoing negotiations with Iran over its nuclear program. While the Trump administration maintained that it was consulting with regional allies, including Israel, some Republican lawmakers worried that Israel's hawkish stance on Iran could undermine the talks. Section 7. Political and diplomatic tremors, the aftershocks of the trip. President Trump's Middle East trip, while ambitious in scope, left a trail of political and diplomatic aftershocks. The controversies surrounding the trip, from the acceptance of the Qatari jet to the Trump family's business dealings, further polarized an already divided America. Democrats seized on the scandals, accusing Trump of using his office for personal gain and jeopardizing America's standing in the world. The planned banner over Mar-a-Lago, a stark reminder of the Qatari jet controversy, served as a visible symbol of the Democratic opposition. The diplomatic fallout from the trip was equally significant. The perception of American foreign policy being swayed by personal interests and transactional diplomacy, rather than strategic considerations, caused unease among allies and emboldened adversaries. The trip also exposed rifts within the Republican Party, particularly regarding Israel's role in regional negotiations. While the Trump administration maintained its unwavering support for Israel, some Republican lawmakers voiced concerns about the potential pitfalls of aligning U.S. policy too closely with Israeli interests. Section 8. Conclusion: a legacy marred by controversy. President Trump's Middle East trip, intended to project American strength and leadership, ultimately became emblematic of the controversies that plagued his presidency. The pursuit of economic deals, entangled with ethical concerns and accusations of self-dealing, cast a long shadow over any diplomatic achievements. The trip highlighted the inherent conflicts of interest posed by Trump's refusal to fully divest from his business empire. The acceptance of the Qatari jet, regardless of its intended purpose, fueled perceptions of impropriety and a disregard for ethical norms. While the long-term implications of the trip remain to be seen, one thing is certain: Trump's legacy in the Middle East, much like his presidency itself, will be forever marked by controversy and a constant tension between personal gain and national interest. Section 9. What's next? The uncertain future of U.S.-Middle East relations. In the wake of President Trump's tumultuous Middle East trip, the future of U.S. relations with the region hangs in the balance. The trip, while yielding some positive developments, exposed deep-seated challenges and exacerbated existing tensions. The Biden administration, now tasked with navigating the complex geopolitical landscape of the Middle East, faces a daunting task: rebuilding trust with regional partners, addressing the humanitarian crises in Yemen and Gaza, and finding a diplomatic solution to the Iranian nuclear issue are just a few of the pressing challenges ahead. The long-term impact of Trump's transactional approach to foreign policy remains to be seen. The perception of the United States as an unreliable partner, willing to prioritize personal gain over long-standing alliances, could have lasting consequences for American influence in the region. As the dust settles from President Trump's Middle East tour, the world watches closely, waiting to see how the United States will navigate the turbulent waters of this strategically vital region.